couple of things before we move on. Yeah, just we got back Saturday and got in here Sunday and watched the tape. We quickly got over Maryland as fast as we could. That's how we're going to approach every game, is just get in here and get it over with. There's a lot of good positive things on that. We probably played with more effort and energy than we played in the previous couple of games. Talked about having a little bit of a lull in the second half, which I attribute that to playing a good football team. You can't. Very rare you can win on all four sides of the ball for 4 quarters. That's just hard to do when you're playing a good opponent. So they seized the momentum in the third and fourth quarter and was really proud of our all 3 sides of the ball. We took the last time offensively we had the ball, we marched down 6-7 minutes and got points, and we didn't get the touchdown like we wanted, but we got points. Bettenkirk knocked through his 3rd field goal of the day, and then defensively we got a big stop, which won the game for us. So from a team perspective, we overcame some adversity, which I thought was really good. That's how you grow as a football team. And we were able to overcome some things and win the game on the road, which was huge. Got the game over with, and then starting Sunday night, we started focusing on LSU, which we do for every opponent that we play. So it's been all about LSU all day yesterday from a coach's standpoint, getting together game plans. This morning, getting together game plans, and then this afternoon we'll try to go out there and get a little better at what we're asking the kids to do. So that's where we stand at this point. From there, I'll take some questions.
Coaches, are there any similarities between the offenses and defenses in this game Saturday?
None whatsoever. Special teams, there's always going to be a few just because of the nature of special teams, but our offense is 100% different than their defense, and our defense is 100% different than their defense. So it really is, we're a different football team. All around, we're a different football team.
Does that make it more difficult?
It probably does for them too.
What have you seen from their defense so far that makes them so hard to contain?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's not the trickiest thing in the world to figure out what they're doing. We can. Will they catch us in some things? Probably, but it's not the trickiest thing to figure out what they're doing. It's a group that's made up of very, very, very talented individuals. From not just the state of Louisiana, but Texas and all over. They get them from everywhere. And then they have, Coach Miles has established the program over the last, 7 years or whatever it is. They've won a couple national championships within the last decade. They've recruited well. Facilities are good. You guys were there last year. John Chavis is really well-respected defensive coordinator that knows what he's doing defensively, and they get those guys to play with a whole lot of effort, and looks to me like they're pretty excited to play. So, that's a challenge.
Tempo's big for you guys, and it seems like you said that it's going to be very different from what they're doing offensively. When you have 2 different philosophies like that, how important is it to kind of establish yours, and how do you make it so that you get an opponent to play your up-tempo game?
Have success. You can't go out there and 3 and out in a matter of 15 seconds. You destroy your team. So it's a balance, and you gotta. We don't have a goal of snapping the ball a specific amount of time. It's more about rhythm than it is anything, and you start having success, it's easier to get into a rhythm. I don't care what offense that you play. I don't care what your tempo is. If you have success, it's easier to call plays. And the thing about watching them against Oregon, nobody goes faster than Oregon. We don't go faster than Oregon. Oregon goes faster than anybody in the country, and they handled their tempo just fine. And one thing that is concerning watching their defense is they don't play just 11 people. They have enough. They have tremendous depth. On both sides of the ball, they have tremendous depth, and they can put their 2s in there, and it looks just as good as their 1s.
Is it an oversimplification to classify their offense and your offense as maybe one more traditional, one, I don't want to say more modern, but more today?
Yeah, it is. They've changed from last year. They switched coordinators. And Les Miles has been an offensive guy for a long, long time. And he's an offensive line coach, and he's where their physical style of play comes from. And he's done a good job of that when he was at Oklahoma State. Back when I was at Texas Tech, they were one of the more physical teams that we faced. So he brings a physical nature to offense. And the coordinator they had last year was what we watched last week. It's not the same. So Coach Croton had an influence on what they were doing last year. They brought in Steve Craigthorpe, who's very, very, very well respected in this profession and does a heck of a job coaching offense. And it's a little different, and that's what our job is as coaches, to be able to figure out, kind of what they're doing. But it's power offensive football now.
He went to Michigan and coached under, as a graduate assistant under Bo Schembechler, so that would be.
Yeah.
Kind of.
No, I know. I'm aware of it. I've been in the same neck of the woods as him for the last decade, So I'm aware of what he brings to the table, and it's physical nature, which they're going to put a fullback and a tight end in the game, and they're going to come downhill, and they're going to get after you, And then if you put too many people in there, they're going to one-on-one you outside with some talented receivers.
Dana, compared to other teams you've coached against, where would you put LSU previously in your career? Where would you put this LSU team?
As good as any of them. I mean, they're how many? I mean, they've. I was firsthand front row, row 1, 50-yard line in the Cotton Bowl last year. Watching them play Texas A&M, which when I was at Oklahoma State, we were pretty good. And I had a pretty good battle with Texas A&M, so I knew what kind of players they had, and they physically whipped Texas A&M that game. So they've been good for quite some time. You don't win 2 national championships in a decade and be average, and that just doesn't turn south quick. So they've done a good job of sustaining their program, and they've been in 2 big games this year, which they've handled each opponent fairly easily. So to say it's not going to be a challenge would be crazy.
You've mentioned depth. One place in particular seems like their defensive line. They can roll in a few guys. And can you talk about the challenge that's ahead for your offensive linemen and kind of how important it's going to be for you guys to have some depth as well?
Well, we've played, I think, 6 offensive linemen in 3 games, so we don't have the luxury of having the depth right now, so. We just have to have those guys that have to suck it up, and they have to play, which that's nothing new to anywhere I've been. We've always had about 5, 6 linemen that we could go with, and that's what we're going to go with. D-line wise is a little different. We play more D-linemen here than we play O-linemen here. I mean, you just got to roll D-linemen in every now and then, which they have quite a bit of them that they can put in there due to having some pretty good depth.
Their defense isn't, you said, not the trickiest thing. What are the challenges when a team doesn't dress it up and shift and move in disguise, and they just rely on their guys to play?
Well, they have to do some of that now. I'm not saying they're vanilla by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, they're in tendencies. I mean, everybody breaks tendencies throughout the course of the game. So I'm not saying that we know exactly what they're going to do in specific situations. I mean, those are going to change. But I'm saying that they're just good at what they do. And it doesn't matter if it's a man situation or if it's a zone situation or if it's a man pressure, zone pressure. I mean, they got the ability to do all that stuff, and they have the ability to do all that stuff well, So the biggest challenge going against a defense that's good, talented, and never out of position is you got to take advantage of the little space that you have, and there's going to be we're going to have to throw into receivers that are covered. We're going to have to run the ball into, people that are filling gaps. We're going to have to sustain blocks a little bit longer. We're going to have to, if they're playing zone coverage and we get a guy open in the middle, that hole is going to close relatively quick. So the speed of the game is just going to have to increase more than it did last week, and the tight space that we have to take advantage of offensively, we've got to take advantage of it.
Fair to say the offensive line took a step forward last week?
Very much so. Very much so. Which is always good to see as coaches. As coaches, at first, because we told them finish blocks, continue to be targeted right, finish blocks for 2 straight weeks, and then we saw them do it. So it was like, see, we told you could do it. So, We improved him technique-wise, and we got a little bit more effort out of him to the point to where we sprung a guy a couple times, you know. So that's just improvement, which, you know, doesn't mean we got anything figured out. It just means that we improved, which means our goal now is to improve another week.
Same thing for your young running backs. They slowly starting to, they look like they ran harder, a little less tentative this past week.
Yeah, probably a little bit, you know, probably a little bit. And same thing with receivers. You know, we ran our routes a little faster, and we sustained blocks on the perimeter a little bit longer, you know. Probably played up to our competition a little bit, as opposed to last week playing down to our competition a little bit.
Talk about Sean Alston a little bit more. I know you referenced him after the game, but his role as the third down back, and if he's healthy, how you guys plan on using him, or how you can effectively use him?
We'll use him in a variety of ways. I mean, you know, we didn't. I mean, he's the thing about him, and it has nothing to do with ability or any of that. I mean, he's slow-footed. You know, he doesn't hit that hole like we want him to, which is why he's not a starter. You know, if there's nothing there, he's not going to just move a pile of bodies 3 yards and get the first down. You know, that's not, you know, quote unquote what big backs do. But you know, what he brings is, and it's because he's one of the few guys that we have that have experience. Is what he brings is just maturity, and being in a situation where, you know, it doesn't faze him as much due to the fact that he's been there before. I mean, that's what he brings to the table.
And have you had to, or have you felt necessary to address your team about the conference situation? Or, I mean, since they don't read us, you know, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I'm quite positive that our kids don't pay any attention to anything that you guys said.
Okay.
And can assure you, I'm 100% positive that I don't pay attention to anything that you guys write. But with that said, I know it's out there, and I know a lot of people are talking about it. It's impossible to avoid it. Whether it's, you know, a newspaper, internet, you know, TV, it's impossible to avoid. I don't think it's necessary because they understand that everything I talk about is worry about things that you can control, which is what you can control. You can control going to class, you can control going to treatments, you can control going to study hall, practice, preparation, film, giving good effort, lifting weights, that sort of thing. That's all that these kids need to worry about. And us as coaches, all we need to worry about is what the kids are doing and what our preparation is to play. That's it.
That said, would you be in favor in the future of keeping Pitt on the schedule if and when they do join the ACC?
You know, I don't have any control over that. You know, I mean, that's kind of the same thing. That's what you call an administrative duty, which Oliver Luck is as good as there is out there, and I trust him with the direction of where the athletic department's going.